Hey everybody, it's Rubbin is Racing. It's myself, it's my man Spider, it's Quigs, it's Manoli on the ones and twos, and this podcast is brought to you by Cabo Wabo Tequila. Cabo Wabo Tequila is right here. It's my favorite. Cabo Wabo Tequila is unquestionably a Mexican tequila with an undeniably American attitude. It isn't just tequila, guys. It's damn good, thick cut, 100% Blue Weber agave tequila. Cabo Wabo Tequila is the official tequila partner of NASCAR. Add a bold splash to race day. Watching with Cabo Wabo Tequila. If you're heading down to Phoenix this weekend, you can celebrate race day with one of their smoke shows or any of their other patented cocktails. Cabo Wabo wants to remind you to leave the driving to the professionals this week, so please enjoy the thick-cut, bold taste of Cabo Wabo Tequila responsibly. Here's our call to action, guys. Grab your buds and a bottle of Cabo Wabo Tequila for the boldest race day experience ever. You got to be 21 years or older. Please handle responsibly. I will go right from that Cabo Wabo Tequila ad, and again, we love having these guys on board. One of the highlights of kind of a bucket list thing for I think most people is Spider and I had got to do the Gentlemen Start Your Engines last season at the Xfinity race in Irish Hills, Michigan. Spider, I will tell you right now, I just saw the headlines. Michigan, the infield is sold out. So if you're looking to go to the Michigan infield, and I highly recommend it, I call it Mishadega because I think it's one of the best infields in all of NASCAR, and we've been to quite a few of them, not speaking out of my ass. Talladega is fucking nuts. Daytona is kind of nuts, but also has a corporate edge to it. Michigan's a little bit trimmed down. You can get your arms around it a little bit. It's not as overwhelming, and it's a ton of fucking fun. What did you think of Michigan when we went there, Spider?
I thought it was great, and I'm not surprised that the infield is sold out for camping. As you said, Lars, the party scene seemed to really catch me off guard. You hear a lot about Talladega and Daytona about being like the big kind of infield camping party tracks, and Michigan was right up there with it. So I think that was an epiphany that you and I both had when we went to that race last year. I'm excited. I think Michigan seemed to be a great race, and I would love to go back, and it seems like everyone feels that way based on the sellout. I was at the Barstool Classic in South Carolina the last 2 days, and I met these guys who live in Michigan right next to the track. They graciously invited us into their house, which is allegedly like 5 minutes away. So definitely probably better accommodations this year should we go back, as opposed to kind of commuting 30 plus minutes to whatever suburban town was nearby. But the racetrack itself is incredible and always gives us good products. So can't complain. And would love to get back to Michigan.
We were staying in cheap hotels on the opposite side of a small college about 30 miles away from the track because we kind of went last minute. And that was probably the only downside to it. But I thought that the atmosphere, the weather was great and the whole deal. So if you don't have that one on your list, and we still haven't been to Dover. I heard Dover gets kind of wild. And we haven't been to New Hampshire because, you kind of concentrate on going to the South for all the more traditional NASCAR feel. Spider, I can't remember. How did you fuck me last year with the Gentlemen Start Your Engine? Did you start early or was I not
doggy style, I think it was.
Was it straight up doggy?
No, they were pointing. The guy that told us when to go had a little clipboard, and his cue to me was that he was going to point at his clipboard when to go. And I don't know if you were just spaced out ADD or something, but he was really adamantly go, 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 go. So I was just all right, I'll get into it. So I ripped drivers. Luckily, you joined me for Start Your Engines. I thought it worked out perfectly. It was a little hiccup, but I'm not even sure the audience could tell.
No, and I found it amazing too because the guy had held up drivers start your engines. Drivers start your 4 words, not tough, and they were going to give us a cue. Even an idiot could do it. And I think I was changing my glasses for my sunglasses, and I missed one of the 4. It was totally not your fault. One of the 4 words I totally missed on, and I'm a professional. But yeah, I whiffed on it. I hope nobody noticed, but I don't give a shit either way. How we doing, Quigs? Everything good?
Yeah, everything's good.
Yeah.
Yep, was in New York last weekend, and now I'm back. Got home in time for the race. But yeah, everything's good.
For people who don't know, Quigs, if you see us do any kind of graphics and stuff, sometimes Quigs is the guy who does that on top of doing a bunch of other stuff for a bunch of different other projects. And for some reason, this week was the first week we heard from one of the hosts of this show saying, listen, if we win a bet, can we get like a little sticker put on the ticket that they hit? You know what I mean? It's weird because we're so many weeks into the season, never mentioned it before. But all of a sudden,
we're only 3 weeks in. We're only 3 weeks in. There's still time to pivot and grow. I just think that one of the greatest traditions, we come out here, we talk about smashing piñatas, smashing watermelons, whatever it may be. One of my favorite ones for all the drivers, regardless of who wins, is seeing them get the little sticker, put it on their door rail after they win, and all their cars moving forward the rest of the season will have the stickers for each win they have. I think, and I proposed in our group chat, that this is something that we could do moving forward. So should we hit an outright winner, maybe like my Larson pick gets a little sticker underneath there next week. Quiggs' Byron pick from the Daytona 500 gets a little sticker next week.
It wasn't a bad idea. It's just, it's a little bit.
The timing.
Well, timing, yeah. But it's more like I've obviously thought about doing that. But with NASCAR cards, it's very weird where we'll have weeks where none of us will hit. Even when you do hit, you have 10 misses on a card and one win. Lose. It like doesn't look very impressive. And then also, it's once we start doing that, I gotta keep track of our units and have a spreadsheet.
Yeah, I don't think we should keep track of units. However, but
next
since
thing you
we're
know,
talking,
it's like 3 hours of additional stuff I got to do.
Since we're doing some housekeeping here, this might now be a good time to mention that my Larson pick that I hit on last week, I gave out on the show plus 400, not plus
solo
350.
pick.
Not 350 as the graphics suggested. And that being said, if I'm going to give a solo pick, it's got to be. I can't be unit shamed. Shaved.
I'm sorry. I got to put the graphics together. I do it through the app.
Quiggs, you do a great job. You do a great job. I'm not.
Sometimes I don't get around to it until after qualifying.
I'm simply taking my Polish victory lap as Kyle Larson did, which you did a hell of a one, by the way. I don't know if you guys saw that. It was unreal.
Yeah.
That's all I'm doing. No hard feelings.
No hard feelings.
Celebrating my win. That's all. And I'm happy. I saw a couple people tweeting at me saying that they took Spider's advice, put their DraftKings free bets on Larson. I saw at least 2 people cashed on that. That's 2 more than I would have thought should I kept my mouth shut.
I hope nobody took my advice this week. My strategy was awful.
I would tell you right now that one of the disclaimers that we have this week and all other week is we're not telling you guys what to bet. Right, this isn't a Stu Feiner type show, so we're just trying to have fun with it. But every week so far, we've only been here 3 weeks, like Spider just pointed out. So Quiggs had Byron first week. Spider had the outright just Larson. That was the only thing on his card. And if you know Spider, sometimes he could spray the field on some of these cards too, right?
Yeah.
Like we had to fill out the back. So he was motivated on this one. I had hit like a smaller bet on the second week. So, I think on the head-to-head with Bubba and Chase maybe. So every week we tend to maybe have the opportunity to give out a sticker. This week's sticker for the actual car, Kyle Larson's wife did a terrible job containing her kids. They ran right out onto a fucking open track. So his son was out there celebrating with them on the hood of the car. Then his daughter came out and she put that sticker on for the win at Las Vegas. So congratulations to Kyle Larson and his family. And congratulations to Spider to hitting on one. I'm going to go backwards, Spider. You'd mentioned how we were saying piñatas and watermelon and stuff like that. We had a discussion last week on what other drivers could do that fits their personality.
Yeah.
I had questioned that piñata thing, and then we had questioned whether or not this, like somebody on the crew has to go out to a party city at, Indian Hills, Michigan. And apparently not, because Paul Cook is the listener who forwarded in some guy's tweet next to a picture of this disgusting brittle beige chocolate. Like, it doesn't look like chocolate. It looks like molding clay that that you would see in that iconic love scene in Ghost. Follow up to snagging candy from Daniel Suarez's piñata. Driving back last night, so this guy was at the track when Daniel won, went on the track afterwards, grabbed some of the candy and just threw it into his back seat and was heading home. Driving back last night, I reach out in the dark to eat one of the chocolates, and it was awful. It turns out that Team Trackhouse had been carrying the piñata around for 57 races. Daniel, you got to win more. And you guys know, I mean, I know more than most because I, have kids with the Halloween candy. There's a shelf life on that shit. If you buy too much Halloween candy, you're not using that same bag the following year. And the stuff that Daniel's, it looks like a broken fucking makeup packet more so than Hershey's. So tighten that shit up, Daniel, and get rid of that goofy taco thing. Then another guy who writes in quite a bit, a gentleman named Brandon. He's pretty big help for us. He had said he has one for Spidey Scoops. Spidey was talking about how Trackhouse was a disruptor last week. He used that term a couple of times, and we were pretty bulled up on it, as was everybody else because of Daniel's win, and we know how we feel about Ross. We know how we feel about Justin Marks and all the stuff that they're doing. But this is what Brandon said. Could be a Spidey scoop. I'm going to ask you to rate it afterwards, Spider, like on your scale of A to F.
Sure.
So he's saying, going off the pod, I have a theory about Trackhouse only having 2 charters, which they have now, but they have the relationship with the other ones. I can see a scenario where they buy Kaulig's 2 charters, which makes Trackhouse the super team they want to be, and they'll be having more success than Kaulig at the cup level. Kaulig then goes back to just Xfinity, where they once were, and were honestly better off as they ran a lot better. And they can become a feeder team for Trackhouse and even Spire possibly. So everyone wins. Trackhouse becomes the 4-car super team they want to be. They can keep their 4 drivers now in-house as opposed to doing what they're doing with Zane Smith and whatnot. And Kaulig cashes in on charters. It's a lot of fucking dough and goes back to more of the Xfinity team that they were a few years back. So, Spider, as a scoop or as a potential scoop, what do you think about that, and how do you grade it on a Spidey scoop scale of A to F?
Yeah, this one's tough, Large. This seems more of like a fan fiction kind of thing,
yeah,
like something
100%.
that we want to happen. And I agree with Brandon. I would love for this to happen. I see what he's saying, that kind of everyone eats in this scenario. Kaulig would go back to Xfinity and compete probably regularly, consistently, and be one of the best teams if their sole focus was the Xfinity Series. Trackhouse is kind of getting to a situation where every time there's a driver, like for example, Kyle Busch, when I was like, let's send Kyle Busch to Hendrick, that would be incredible. Rick Hendrick notoriously has this line where I think he said the inn is full, meaning that he doesn't have space at Hendrick for any more of these drivers, regardless of how good they are. I kind of feel like Trackhouse is going to get in that position themselves. Like they have so much good talent. You see SVG getting a podium finish on an oval. Like how soon will he be ready to be full time on the Cup Series? So yeah, Trackhouse is going to need to secure some charters. I think potentially Kaulig would be a good fit. But to sit here and put a grade on it as if there's any certainty to any of this happening, I cannot do.
Okay.
In terms of if I want it to happen, I would say yes, home run. Let's make this happen. Kaulig, go back to Xfinity, compete regularly year after year with some of the best cars for Xfinity championships. Trackhouse, we get to see them field a whole field of their drivers. No more Zane Smith at Spire or Trackhouse or whatever the hell's going on. I think Brandon's right. Everyone kind of would be better off. The question is Matt Kaulig and Kaulig Racing okay with taking a step back and going and becoming a Xfinity full time team? Now, I've said in the past that I think AJ Dinger would be okay or content going back to Xfinity. He doesn't seem like he wants to necessarily race 36 full season races at the Cup Series level in addition to the Xfinity races that he runs. So I agree with Brandon, but I can't say that this is going to happen one way or the other. I think it would be good if it did happen. How's that, Brandon?
Yeah, I agree, and I think it would be good for Xfinity too. Like a league that's already on the come, right? More so, like everyone's pretty bulled up on the Xfinity level anyway. That I think this just adds to the strength of it, and the whole idea of it being a feeder, thing for Trackhouse too, kind of makes sense. So yeah, I mean, if it happens to just how this happened, then Brandon's a fucking genius. But otherwise, I don't mind going along saying that this might be a perfect scenario.
I just think they're
hypothetical.
I think there might be other teams that would take priority over Kaulig taking a step back. Like Rick Ware Racing, for example, is another team that's been mentioned about potentially cashing in on their charters and selling. Are they a team that beats kind of Trackhouse or Colleague to the punch here? I don't know. It will be interesting to see, but the charter kind of carousel is always a fun, interesting dynamic to watch.
I had heard something today that viewership is up like 7% for the season so far in NASCAR. It seems like we're in a good way with that, and that's with Daytona 500 in the rain, like being postponed and whatnot. So I think this is one of those times too. Like I used to be on Wall Street, as you all know. I mention all the time. But when people own seats on New York Stock Exchange, like they went from being however many millions of dollars they were to the stratospheres, and then all of a sudden they'd come in. So it's like almost like a market to sell these charters. And I think we're at a spot here where it might just be a very attractive place to dump it. I mean, we saw, Kyle Busch.
Large, we should just invest in a fucking charter. How much of that Wall Street bag you got left? You got enough change?
I got to be honest, man. It's flying out the door. This fucking kid in college is killing me.
Yeah.
Listen, I told him I'd be glad to pay for college. Maybe he helps out somewhere along the line with some loans. But holy shit, man. You don't get any of that back, Spider.
Yeah.
Don't have kids.
No.
So anyone listening, we're not officially gambling advice, but it is my advice to not have fucking kids. By the way, did you see this girl creep into my DMs to go after my son this weekend? Yeah.
Oh, not just any girl. Rochelle Ryan, like a very famous porn star, Large.
Yeah. We were down. My wife and I had gone down and gotten all dressed up for a formal for my son's frat this weekend down in Alabama. And,
the shoes were awesome. Your shoes.
You guys look great.
Thanks. Yeah, no days off. And so there's a couple pictures of like we're in tuxes and whatnot. And Rochelle Ryan, who I've met a couple times before, she's done some content here. She's a pretty famous adult actress. Sort of dabbles in that milieu of MILF porn. She hits me up. Your son is cute. Can I date him? On a DM. And I was like, holy shit. Because she has a history. She's been very generous with her
She used to date Frank the Tank.
Yes. She's offered to date. But I think she's also like veterans who've come back, from their service and have like, these military balls. She's handled a couple of military balls from what I understand for veterans. So she's a wonderful person. I've actually spoke to her, and I can tell you right now, she's one of those like good-hearted people and stuff. Yeah, but I had to tell her, stand back, fucking woman.
Fall back.
You devil woman. Imagine I went from father to pimp overnight with Mick. Imagine Annie.
What is it, Large, with Mick just attracting all these like Barstool adjacent females that work for us or close to us?
I don't know. He's Adolf Rizzler.
Yeah, we'll leave it at Rochelle Ryan, but let's just say that this was not the first nor the last time will happen.
Yeah, he doesn't get it from me. I can tell you that much, Spider. You know what I mean? I couldn't get laid in a whorehouse with a fistful of hundreds, but Mick seems to be doing okay for himself. Let's go back to this weekend's action. I had said last week, stupidly, that the best revenge Joey could have on the whole glove thing would be to auction it off and maybe donate the money to charity. Joey did embrace the whole glove thing. They were showing a lot of the glove footage throughout the whole week. And this was a week that was one of the most exciting weeks of racing, but we still got to see a lot of the glove. But I think the best revenge is what Joey did in qualifying this weekend. He went out and he won the pole without any kind of gloves. So Front Row Joe now is the first guy to start his first 3 races of the season in the front row. Joey's done that. His first 3 races of the season, he started in the front row, first or second. First time it's been done since 2000. Ricky Rudd. It's been 23 years since someone's been that good to start the season in qualifying. And maybe put an asterisk on it because he was wearing the flipper. But still, congratulations to Joey Logano. I don't know. I heard one other thing. I was listening to Larry McReynolds, America's crew chief, saying that he had heard with the gentlemen start your engines thing. When you yell out gentlemen start your engines and all these guys then fire up the car, give it a couple of revs, it's a really great experience that he had heard because Clint Boyer had called down to Joey Logano's car right at the beginning of Atlanta after gentlemen start your engines, and Joey hadn't fired his car up. So we're thinking that, we talk about fuel management all the time. Joey didn't do the fire up to give himself a couple of extra ounces of fuel, like we're talking about cutting corners and what's legal and what's not legal.
Yeah.
So Team Logano is looking for anything.
Stay a step ahead.
I like that.
I admire the shit out of them. Or we, like you said last week, Quiggs, that it doesn't do anything. Like you didn't think that it gave them any kind of competitive advantage. Do you think?
Yeah, I still think it's like pretty low, but also I was under the impression what I saw of the Joey shot is I thought he just had the webbing between the index and the thumb, and then I saw a picture that was released after we recorded that was every finger. Which, like, I was like, this much extra fabric isn't gonna make that much of a difference. That much extra fabric, I guess,
that's what I was gonna say.
Can still be small amounts, but like it's more than I thought he was doing.
Initially, that we were saying that it wasn't going to make an impact. It wasn't going to make an impact. And then I saw the photo and I was like, that probably is going to make an impact. But I also think if you add up all these things, like whether it be like little fuel saving tricks or putting your hand on the window, a net, like that will make an impact. And I look at Ross Chastain for like trying to take the shortcut at where was it, Indy Road Course last year. Like every team tries little different factors of how they can get an edge, and I think it's really interesting. As much as it may seem like unethical or dirty, I defer to NASCAR. Let them kind of penalize them as they see fit. But I'm all for these drivers trying their hand, literally trying their webbed hand at it.
I like it better than when I hear that the louvers aren't from the factory. Or I got to see the roof racks, like they had shown why they had banged Preece and Gragson. Like they had shown the screws that went in. They were like screwing them in either too much or too little. Like it was something that they did themselves to fuck with it. Like that doesn't entice me at all. But the old stories of putting ball bearings, so once the car starts it shifts the weight to the back and all that, all this clever stuff I'm starting to admire a lot. And I don't know, it's made me a bigger fan of Joey Logano. Like we've broke through with him. He did not like Barstool because Dan Katz is an idiot, right? No, I'm just kidding. Big Cat's the worst person on earth. But when he came on, he was so good with us. And I don't know, I gotta like him even more after all this shit. All right, let's talk about the race. I want to point out somebody right away. Tyler Reddick had a hell of a fucking race.
He did.
He's one of our favorites here, and I think like he should be in the conversation. That making that next step leap. That some of these drivers are trying to make. I know Ross Chastain is one of those guys that's also doing it, but Tyler Reddick is there, and arguably he was probably the fastest car towards the end of that race. Even though Kyle Larson did a masterful job of blocking him, but Tyler, you would talk about Kyle Larson sweeping both stages and then obviously winning the race, which I didn't see as an option. Remember we were betting on that last year, Quiggs?
Yeah.
I didn't see that as one of the options, so I have to check on that again this week. But Reddick was P2 in all three stages and then came in second. So he also had a pretty great day, but it was overshadowed because of, I'm calling him Kyle Verstappen, because Kyle Larson just dominated. It was he never seemed in any kind of trouble, and everyone kind of knew about it. Spider was one of the three of us who acted on it beforehand, thanks to DraftKings. But everyone knew that Kyle was going to be that good, right? I mean, and I know that he's won here before, but other people have won there before. What was it? Why was he in retrospect such easy money after watching that dominant performance? Does anyone have an idea?
I guess I don't really have a great answer, but it is one of those things where we're taking our bets on Wednesday before they qualify, and I see how low his number is. I'm like, that's too low of a number for a NASCAR bet. I'm not betting that. But post qualifying, you could like the rocket ship he had. It like adds up to being like, all right, if this guy's starting out front, nobody's passing him. Like as good as Reddick was, if you're in the last couple laps and Larson's ahead of you with that car, like he's going to win the race.
Yeah, I'm interested to see if that's not Larson. If Reddick's running down like a different driver, does Reddick get by him? And I think it's a closer chance than what it seemed watching on TV. The reality of it is Larson is so fucking good. at those kind of tracks. Even late in the race, you see him like taking air off Tyler Reddick's car, making it impossible for him to kind of close that distance. Like, that is the skill set that I'm not sure the rest of the field has, that makes Larson like the best pure raw talent in the field. So we saw it in those last closing laps, the fact that he was able to hold him off. And to Quiggs' point, yeah, like, favorite going in, to be expected based on track history and how he's ran here in the past. And then qualifying, he did what he had to do, and then so that to me explains what we saw.
It's just he
delivered.
He's such a good driver that if he happens to have the best car on the track, he's gonna win.
Yeah.
Like, there's people like, I don't know, if like Christopher Bell has the best car on the track, he might win.
Right.
But it's like he's not guaranteed. I think if Larson's got the best machine out there, he's winning every time.
Can I turn that around on you guys then? Because Spider had said, Reddick could have probably maybe ran down somebody else, but he's not running down Kyle Larson in that car. We're not taking anything away from Tyler Reddick. I just blew him a little bit, even though he finished outside of the top 25 for the first two races, right? Yeah. But Tyler Reddick picked up 18 points during this race. So he had a great race, not taking anything away from Tyler Reddick. But can I flip that on you, Spider? What if it wasn't Tyler Reddick that was chasing him down? What if it was somebody who was, because Tyler is a very classy racer, right? Like, I love the fucking kid.
Yeah.
What if it wasn't? What if it was a more aggressive guy who might have made a more aggressive move? Let's say it was Denny. Let's say it was Ross. Let's say it was Kyle Busch, who somehow does stuff to get wins. You think it would have been that easy on him? You know what I mean? Like, was there another person that wouldn't have let Kyle? Because we've seen that happen, where Kyle Larson was about to win and he gets sent.
Denny's probably the guy it would have been. And here's why. I'm looking at it from this perspective. I think Tyler Reddick was the best Toyotas. The Toyotas shined late in this race based on long run speed. That's where the cars were good, was the long run. So they came alive later in this race, and if you look at the finishing positions, it's Larson and Blaney, and then it's Noah Gragson are the three non-Chevy car or non-Toyota cars. So Reddick, Gibbs, Truex, Hamlin, they all came charging late in that last stage in the long run. And I think if the race were a little bit longer, or I don't know, maybe if that's Denny, he gets a little bit more aggressive. That being said, though, I'm looking at it, I'm watching that race, the closing laps, and it's like Reddick had Bubba right there with him. Not in the last kind of charge that he made, but before that, Bubba was pushing Reddick and closed that gap to Larson. So part of me feels like that was the best, closest effort we would have gotten, was seeing two teammates work together in a tandem kind of style to close that gap. And even so, they didn't link bumpers and kind of push each other when they had the chance to, with 1 or 2 laps to go, whatever it was. I forget the scenario, but there was an opportunity for them to do that again. They didn't. I don't know. I think Denny would have probably been out on his island without a teammate there. And as much as I say all of his teammates just finished
a little bit,
behind.
not to make Larson sound like invincible, like he could just avoid a wreck, but he's such a good driver that he races people differently. And like if he's got Chastain as the guy chasing him down, he changes his strategy, and I think he can kind of avoid whatever Ross is going to try to do. In a way of not like he can dodge him, like trying to spin him out, but he just races differently in that scenario, I think, just to keep the lead.
Late in that race, I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, I have Larson outright, but does he have help? All these Toyotas are behind him, and the only Chevy nearby is Chastain. Is Chastain going to be a teammate, be a bro, or is he going to fucking put his foot down and look out for his best interest? So, like, even late in the race, I didn't feel like Larson was out on an island on his own, and he still made it happen. So I think that's a testament to the skill set he has.
Does it remind you of 2021 when he won? So 2021 was Larson, 22 was the 22, and then 23 was Blaney, right? So we in earnest were really following it in 2021. We were there when he won the Cup. I lifted his mom over the wall, the whole fucking deal. Do you remember how invincible he seemed in 2021?
Yeah, that was him or Harvick every week, right? If I remember correctly.
I feel that way. I felt like that was the first time I felt like that invincibility. I know he's had a bunch of wins last season, including that All-Star race. I think he had done a pretty dominant job there too, and took the check for the $1 million. But I thought that race, coming off of every pit, just slowly climbing back into contention, he did absolutely nothing wrong. And that was the problem with Tyler Reddick. Or with Bubba, the 2311 team. They had a terrible day in the pits.
That's what I was going to say. Even if Reddick's the best car on the track, it's like 2311. Last season, this season, it seems to be the same thing. We've seen them have struggles on pit road, and then you hear Tyler Reddick in his post-race kind of getting frustrated. And those are all justified, complaints he's making based on the history of these being recurring issues. So another kind of thing that Reddick is up against, and if you're going to beat Kyle Larson, you're going to have to be perfect.
Yeah, and people were. So people, I think, like even Kyle Busch had that outside the box pit violation, and then Chastain had the speeding violation. There were a lot of people that shot themselves in the foot, made up for it, did pretty well. We'll talk about the plastic bag incident, which was nobody's fault. And then the Busher thing, which is fucking wild. You guys didn't like the Kyle Verstappen type thing? I thought that was kind of
nice. I like that.
We're good with that? All right. So third time win in Las Vegas for Kyle Larson. He led over 181 laps of the 267 that they ran, and Hendrick has won the past 4 Vegas spring races. So they're dominating. Let's talk about the trash bag. So William Byron led 15 laps early, but had to pit under green in the first stage when a big trash bag, a 55-gallon one, this wasn't one that they got from, Publix. 55-gallon trash bag flew onto the grill of his car, which we know happens on windy days. I can still remember Phoenix Spider had the whole luxury box thinking that Kyle Busch's car was about to blow up because he had a piece of paper on one of his intakes in the front. And, and everyone was so watching this piece of paper. But this was even better. A 55-gallon, which, by the way, had an empty beer in it. A Coors Silver Bullet was in that got lodged inside one of the intakes. There was an empty that got lodged there. Yeah. So it's so whatever. If he stayed on the track, the engine would have definitely overheated. And if he has Spider, it would have exploded and killed everybody at the track, right? Like we were trying to be as dramatic as possible. And then Byron said it was huge. He wound up finishing 10th, which is something else, right? Like to come back from it. But it seemed to get stuck somewhere underneath my car, and my temps went from 250 to 350 in less than 10 seconds. I've never had that happen. So it was Rudy Fugle afterwards who had said that there was an empty beer can in there as well. How's that reflect? I'm going to give you guys a little bit of foresight. I'm plowing Byron this weekend. The revenge on the bag game.
Yeah.
I know.
He looked great before it.
And another rocket ship. We had said that Hendrick kind of dominates that race anyway. There's a guy who doesn't make mistakes. William Byron doesn't make mistakes, and he also doesn't curse a lot. But when that bag was on there, I had heard the in thing, dropped a couple of F-bombs. It was nice to see Willie B played a little bit blue, so I think he comes back with a vengeance. So I like that. But how random and disappointing would that be for you guys as a Cup driver when you get acted upon by a plastic bag? You can't place the blame anywhere except on the Lord. You know what I mean?
I thought at first it was, I don't know if you saw either in qualifying or practice.
The wrap?
I think Chastain's wrap came off his car.
He got penalized. He got sent to the back because his wrap was coming off.
And it was just basically black underneath. And that's what I thought happened at first. And then I saw it was just the bag, which, I don't know. Like, you'll see when they're on, like, plate tracks or whatever, when they get a tiny thing on their grill. And the announcers are like, he's got to get rid of that quick or his engine's gonna get overheated, let alone every inch of intake you have covered by it. Like, that's where your engine can actually just like blow up. Like, that's just getting you have no like clean air coming into that to cool it down. That, like, he's lucky it didn't end his day, because if he went another lap, I think his day's done.
Back to the wrap coming off thing. The announcing broadcast mentioned that Hendrick is one of the only teams that has a couple cars that are painted still, which I thought was really interesting. I don't know if that's actually accurate. Hopefully someone in the comments can correct us if we're wrong here. But I thought that was really interesting. So like Kyle Larson, who is pretty much running the Hendrick Cars 5 red, white, and blue scheme every week, is this a factor that he never has to worry about because his car is permanent and his sponsorship's permanent and that car may be painted?
I would fact check that. I don't know if anybody's painting their
They
car.
said that on the broadcast. I will take that to my grave. I don't know if
I guess maybe I'm wrong.
maybe certain
Rap
parts
seems
of it,
like the only way people are doing it now. But I don't know. Maybe I'm calling you out on something that I have no idea about.
Yeah, I'd have to check it. I will. I'll check that out. Do you guys think that it's panic time yet for anybody? Bob Pockris, who's the crown prince of NASCAR, had said that, maybe Logano and Brad Kay should panic after 3 races being outside the top 16 in points. We know intimately how long the NASCAR season is, right? 28 races plus 10 in the playoffs. And we've only had 3 races, and 2 of them have been on super speedways, right? So I don't think we've had like a real fair assessment of how some of these new bodies are working in it, like the Dark Horse and whatnot. Much less, I don't think it's time to panic yet for these guys. Am I missing something, you think?
I disagree.
Okay.
I think, and again, I always preface these aero takes that I give by saying I'm not a aeronautic engineer. I don't know how, the air works. I'm no Dale Earnhardt in that regard. I think that if the modifications are not noticeable on a super speedway track where aero is most significant, then they're not going to be a factor at all. To me, if they didn't have a factor at Daytona or Atlanta, or there was no noticeable advantage, I don't see how they're going to be a factor at a smaller track where aero is less of a variable. And also, Large, I am hitting the panic alarm. I'm not going to give my picks right now, but Chevy has been dominant thus far, and I'm fuck it, I will give a pick right now. I'm planning on rolling with Chevy until that's not the case. So stay tuned for my official picks, but that's where I'm at.
That's a little preview. I'm going to give another preview. I think I'm out. I'm not panicking, but I think I'm done. I bet Brad Kay again. I don't know what it is. Like, sometimes I get these things. I mean, I did it with Truex, and I basically killed him, in 2021, right? Or 2022, rather, before the 23 season. So I think I'm out on Brad Kay for the time being, which means probably plow Brad Kay this weekend. Yeah. What about the smoke? I like to mention the smoke, which happens every week. We saw a little bit of smoke between Ty Gibbs and Martin Truex Jr. He's like, I'm done racing this guy. I don't think anything will develop with that, for pretty obvious reasons, and also for the reason that I don't think Martin just gives a shit. But I like what happened at the end between Chastain and Blaney. Chastain was, when Amy Little, or is it Amy Little? She went over and put the mic in his face. Jamie, okay. And Ross said that he was proud of Blaney's.
Amy Long, Jamie Little.
Jamie Little, yeah, that's right. Yeah, shout out Amy Long. Ross said he was proud of Blaney's evolution with air blocking. Like, he had said that in a sarcastic way. And then Ross had tweeted out, when somebody had put that out, the clip of it, with a clip of the Emperor from the Star Wars franchise saying it's ironic. So that would be kind of good to see if those two. Like, I'm trying to figure out who I would really like to see smoke with.
That'd be a good.
You know what?
Guys that fit that would be perfect.
One that I'm watching for, since you could take those two, Large. I'm taking 2 teammates that I saw allegedly had beef. I didn't really see it in real time, but I saw a lot of narrative on the messaging boards regarding these 2 drivers, Corey LaJoie and Carson Hocevar. I guess there was a little bit of Corey was not thrilled with the way that Carson raced him. And this is something that I'm going to be watching all season long. Spire is becoming way, way more competitive by the week, it seems. And now Corey LaJoie seemingly has his first competitive teammate with Carson Hocevar. And not to say Zane Smith will not be that guy this season, but he's had tough luck so far this season. But Corey being upset with Hocevar, a guy that he's teammates with, it's going to be interesting to see, for me, how those guys kind of work through 2 cars being very competitive with each other. And yeah, that's the storyline I'm going to be watching. It seemed like a lot of people were getting on Corey, saying that he was complaining about his teammate having a good run, which I don't know. I just want to see more and kind of come to my own conclusion. But that's certainly a storyline I'll be watching.
And I think Corey has a point because he's having a good season. Like a P4 at Daytona, and then a top 15 in Atlanta, and then obviously back of the pack, in part because of Hocevar. So he's got a little bit of reason to beef there. So yeah, I'd love to keep an eye on that too. We're going to go to the over/under just to kind of speak about some other individuals from this week. All right, let's talk about some of the overs. I'm going to start, if you don't mind, Spider.
Please.
I'm going to start with Raja Karuth. So Raja Karuth is this young kid. He's 21 years old. He's still going to college, sim racer, and he's in the truck series, and he pulled his first win this weekend on Friday, beating a full field of competitors, including names like some guy named Kyle Busch and whatnot. So Raja Karuth won, becoming the third black driver to win in the top 3 NASCAR series, joining Wendell Scott back in the 60s, and of course Bubba Wallace, who did it in Kansas with Spider and I in attendance. So congratulations to Raja. We're actually going to have him on today, but he's been going through a car wash with all the interviews and whatnot. I saw he was on Door Bumper. I think he was on Stacking Pennies and a bunch of other places, so the scheduling just didn't work out. One of the questions that I had ready for him, boys, I'm going to ask you now. A bunch of people had reached out to Raja after his win. Sporting world, entertainment world, obviously the NASCAR world. It seems like everyone really loves this kid. They're very happy for him. But one of the people that reached out to him, which I thought was kind of random, was Kelly Rowland. Maybe he has a relationship with her. I was going to ask him. But Kelly Rowland, for people who don't remember, R&B singer. She was part of Destiny's Child with Beyonce before Beyonce had become a megastar. Fuck, marry, kill. Destiny's Child. So you have Beyonce, Kelly Rowland, and the third woman was this girl named Michelle Williams. I'm going to go to you first, Quiggs, because I want Spider to put some thought into this, because sometimes Spider just jumps at it. But give me fuck, marry, kill, Quiggs. Then I'm going, and then
this
Spider's
is easy.
going. Go.
You kill, who'd you say, Mary Williams? The one that nobody knows.
Yeah, okay.
Killed her.
Uh-huh.
One of the women has the most money in the world.
Yes.
And her name's Beyonce, so you marry her and you fuck Kelly Rowland.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Fucking Kelly Rowland. Okay.
I don't think
Spider,
there's
how do you
another
feel?
answer.
Yeah,
How do you feel about that?
I think bro, Kelly Rowland's bad though.
That's what I'm saying.
But so is
She
Beyonce.
might be wifey. I don't know. I'd say that's a toss-up.
Right.
If I could fuck either of them, that's a dub. But yeah, the third bitch is definitely getting killed.
I'm telling you right now, I'm killing Beyonce. I think she's gotten a little ahead of her skis. So she's gone.
You do?
Yeah, and I think I'm going to, with all due respect to...
You're too
to
good for
my bride.
Beyonce.
Yeah. I think I'm tagging
What does the
Kelly
other girl
Rowland.
look like?
Although I don't even
Michelle Williams, I think
Let me see.
she was always my favorite of the 3. So Michelle Williams is wifey material for me. In a vacuum, of course. Love my wife very much. Shout out.
Quiggs is gonna like her. She kind of looks like AOC. In that picture, do you not see it?
Not really, no. It's a different... I don't know.
Either way, so we'll go off the rail. I was going to ask that to Raja, and then I was going to stop the kid and say, hey, that's a media trap. You don't have to answer that. It's potentially damaging for the kid. But so FMK, I'm killing Beyonce. That's all you guys got to know. Who are you killing again, Spider?
Michelle.
You're both killing Michelle Williams.
Yeah.
Michelle Williams, yeah.
But are you marrying Beyonce or are you banging her?
That's a toss-up. Well, I'd probably do like a Mormon style open.
Okay.
Several wives.
Switch the game.
What do they call that?
Polygamy or
Polygamy,
something?
yeah.
Polygamy,
I would practice polygamy.
Yeah, I'll take them all.
Huge fan of polygamy myself. Alrighty, Spider, what did you see? And so we do over under. Spider kind of drives the bus on it. We also have some other ones that we think, have over and underperformed, just to give you guys an idea of how the weekend was. Wait, first of all, 1 to 10, tough to judge this race on how good it was after watching Atlanta, right? Did you guys feel that
it was
way?
almost unfair
Yeah.
for this race.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I told Quiggs I only had like 1 or 2 over-unders just based on the fact that we were spoiled the last 2 weeks. But no, I'll say I have 2 overs, and one of them is going to be obvious. Obviously, Larson won the race. Kind of predictable, but while I was expecting him to win the race, what I was surprised with, as I mentioned previously, was his ability to kind of take the air off the hood of Reddick's car, maybe put the air on. I don't even know which one it was, but disrupt the aero on Reddick's car late in the race and prevent him from kind of closing the gap. I was really impressed with Larson's ability to do that. For that reason, I think he over-delivered. I'm taking the over on him. And then there's only one other guy that really impressed me, and that's a local kid. A Vegas local, Noah Gregson, finishing 6th, best Stewart-Haas car, second best Ford, excuse me. And he ran a hell of a race, and credit where credit is due. So I think we were too quick to write off Noah last year. Obviously, there were other circumstances involved, but I'm looking forward to seeing kind of what he can do this season. And I think this was very promising effort that we saw from him. In terms of the unders, I'm taking Christopher Bell. All the Toyotas made a late charge, seemingly aside from Christopher Bell. So I'd like to see him kind of heat up a little. Or maybe not. If he kind of continues this slow start to the season, I might put a little championship future on him, depending on how high his odds go. I think right now he's 10 or 11 to 1, which is probably where it should be. But if he gets up to, let's say, 14 or 15 to 1, I might take a flyer on that. So Christopher Bell was my under just based on the success of the other Toyotas and his teammates this week. What did you see, Quigs?
He was one of mine. I think he's kind of in for a pretty underwhelming season.
Okay.
But I don't know.
It started in the playoffs, right? Like the finals. I mean, he was the first heartbreak of the finals. And then you come into here. This is a Final Four driver, right? Final Four playoff driver. He finished P33, second finish outside the top 30 in 3 races. And, I mean, I know there was some tire troubles and he spun out. But it seems like everything that can go wrong for Chris goes wrong. So you're saying that continues, Quiggs? Or are you saying that there's a light at the end of the tunnel? You're saying there is no light.
I don't know. I mean, I just think he's like missing that like killer instinct. Like, I don't know. He just doesn't seem very threatening out there, and I don't know how much he bounces back or like how much of a fire he'll have lit under his ass to be competitive. But we'll see. And then for over, I just think Hendrick overall is an over. I think there'll be very, very, very few races this year that they're not going to be pretty competitive to win it. One of their drivers at least, like in the top 3 late. They just look so good and have so many different options if one of their drivers isn't having a good day. And then under, do it every week. Legacy didn't show up again.
Yeah, I was watching.
Eric Jones, 14.
Yeah,
I was watching Eric Jones hang around 14, and I said something's going to happen where because I had Eric Jones top 10 finish.
Yeah.
And Quiggs goes, oh yeah, he'll be driving 19th, and then something will happen, and he'll slide into the, like 8 or 9. And I was hoping that would happen. That was exactly my playbook, but it didn't happen. When you say Hendrick in general, but how do you feel about Chase? Like Chase Elliott, P12, and if you're talking about the hierarchy at Hendrick, like every week we seem to be putting Chase further and further. Since he's won last in October of 22, I think it was, Larson and Byron have combined for 13 wins since Chase has put one up.
I need to make a proclamation.
I just think you're in a good spot as a team if Chase Elliott's your most like underperforming driver.
Yeah. He's not. It's Bowman. And also, do not allow me. I'm saying this right now. Do not allow me moving forward to place a wager on Brad K or Chase Elliott outright until they win again. Okay. Then they will be exonerated. But for right now, they're in purgatory.
I think maybe just Brad K. Chase will win one out of nowhere.
Chase. The thing with Chase is, I could see him getting a little home cooking from NASCAR officiating, or a convenient caution, or should there be a decision to be made on a green-white checkered. That's all. Not to say our sport is fixed. I'm just saying.
I don't know. I feel like it's tough for refs to be like he's getting all the calls.
Well, like Blaney won that race.
Yeah.
What, the photo finish?
Yeah, Blaney won
the
that.
photo finish.
Yeah, I'll stand by that.
Right. And you know what? Bowman won the week before.
No.
Right?
No.
Oh, no?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to add one to the positives to the over. I'm going to throw our guy Ty Gibbs in just because it was his first top 5 of 2024, but it was second week in a row that he's the best Joe Gibbs driver. So we have now, second week in a row he's best Joe Gibbs driver. He looks pretty strong. Everyone says it's now a matter of time before this kid gets his first W. We have potentially, because Noah finishing P6 in his hometown, that's his third career top 10, but the second of the season. So Noah's having that season and Ty's having that season that we were kind of hoping for last year, where they would have been going head to head for Rookie of the Year. So I'm kind of still have that, I have that rivalry in my head. And one other over, I have to figure out what it was, but Noah had a huge plug-in when he jumped out of the car and started talking to whoever was there. I don't even know if it was Jamie or the other gentleman. So shout out to Zens too. They got a little bit of free advertising, whatever the hell, because his bottom lip looked like a bullfrog. I'm gonna add one more to the under list too, if you guys don't mind. Buescher,
Please.
Chris Buescher hit the wall just 28 laps in, right? And it ended his day. From what I understand, like we saw the lug nut come off and then the tire come off. It was pretty wild to watch. From what I understand, that was 11 laps after that thing was tightened. So it was like being held on almost by a fender. And NASCAR had to stop the race to actually weld part of the safer barrier after Buescher's wreck. And like Buescher's like, he's quoted as saying, "I broke the wall." Like you don't see that too often. And then Buescher will likely have, it's just about guaranteed, we're taping Wednesday morning, so we haven't heard it yet. He'll have 2 crew members suspended for 2 races because the wheel came off on the track under green. So I got to throw him in there as an under because the guy lost his fucking wheel.
Throw him or the pit crew?
So the pit crew. Oh, you know what? Do I blame the pit crew? Yeah.
Yeah,
You know
like
what? Either way,
who
he
you blaming on
underperformed.
Yeah.
Right? Like Buescher had such a positive vibe going into, at the end of last season, going into this one, but he definitely went home not feeling as good about himself as he probably should have. So I'll give the whole fucking team Buescher an under. Yeah, that's a good point. Before we move on, does anyone have anything else to say about Las Vegas before we move on to Phoenix?
No.
All right, let's go to Phoenix. So we're going to preview Phoenix, brought to you by NASCAR. Again, we're having a great season. I told you numbers are up, so we're just happy to be alive. No trucks this week, but Xfinity is 4:30 on Saturday on FS1. Logano is going to be in the booth. I just heard this morning. I kind of like when Joey's in the booth, so that's something to look forward to. And then in the Cup Series, more importantly for us at least, it's the Shriners Children's 500. It's Sunday, March 10th at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Fox. So Saturday, 4:30 for Xfinity. Sunday, 3:30 for Cup. Phoenix Raceway is a mile. It's a low-bank tri-oval racetrack, so it's the closest thing to a short track that we've seen so far this season. 312 miles means 312 laps. Stage breaks after 60, after lap 125, and then the final 127 laps right into the checker. Pit road is very difficult at Phoenix. There's a bend in it, and it's a very long pit road. So that first stall is going to be very important. They always talk about it whenever we go to Phoenix. Whoever wins and gets to choose their first stall from qualifying, it's a key advantage for people to have because this is a tricky one to pit at, and we've seen so many people lose races, particularly last week, with shitty pit stops. This is the first race that we're going to have since we started doing Rubbin is Racing where Kevin Harvick is not being mentioned as one of the favorites. Kevin Harvick has 9 wins at Phoenix. It's kind of his track, and obviously him being up in the booth leads us to believe we have to talk about other people there. The 2023 winner was William Byron, and Blaney, Reddick, Larson, and Harvick rounded out the top 5 last year. So it was Byron, Blaney, Reddick, Larson, and Harvick. I haven't seen too many paint schemes from it. Spider, you said you had copped one. What are you looking forward to this week as far as paint schemes?
So I saw one that was very polarizing. Denny Hamlin's in an all-red car with just simple white text on it. Very simple graphic design work. I'm very much looking forward to seeing this. This kind of reminds me of the Bud car we saw, like the old 9 Bud car. I think it's going to be sick. Denny Hamlin's typically not in a red car. We've seen him in red, white, and black sports clips, but this is just like a bright red look at me. Hopefully he can be like, I don't know, I'm going to have my eyes fixated on him all race. Just hopefully he's going to be pushing people out of the way, getting up front, causing some chaos in that thing. And then Noah Gregson's is far and away my favorite that I've seen this week. We've seen Brexton Bush. I don't know if you guys seen me wear my Brexton Bush shirt. He is sponsored by Serve Pro. He's got the little B-Rex as his nickname. The little orange and lime green Serve Pro shirt. Noah has a very similar scheme, black, lime green, and orange. It looks so sick. And I've really loved what Noah's been doing with his paint schemes this season. The other one that he runs, the typical silver one, looks very reminiscent to his Xfinity one, which he had massive success in. So I'm excited to see what he can do in that Surf Pro car. I also saw Ryan Blaney's Advanced Auto Parts car. Looks very cool. There were a few other ones that stood out to me, but those are just the ones off the top that are coming to my head. Quigs, did I miss any? I know you like Noah's as well.
Yeah, it's amazing how good of a scheme Serve Pro can make.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It was
I
beautiful
also
looking.
love Serve Pro. I'll give a free ad here. When we were doing unboxings in COVID for Dave, Serve Pro would come every day, disinfect the hundreds of thousands of packages that Dave would get before he brought them into his apartment. Great company if you ever get a flood or a fire. They're your people to call.
Yeah,
Spider, I moved into my new house, and we moved in the week before Mother's Day. Mother's Day we had a brunch. I cooked. The kids came down. Made a couple of fucking cards with macaroni, whatever to it. All of a sudden, I'm going to wash dishes, and the water pressure's low. And Finn goes, "Dad, you gotta go down to the basement." And a sewer pipe had broken my basement, and we still had boxes and stuff. And honestly, there's like a log of shit floated by. And I was like, I can't do anything with. I couldn't fucking do anything with that stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not much of a man as far as that goes. And called Serve Pro. They came in with the hazmat suits, hooked us up. Again, no free ads, but lifesavers on Mother's Day.
Yeah, I don't even know why I'm giving them a free ad. It's not like they could send me anything. But yeah, I do genuinely appreciate the services they provide.
Maybe some merch.
If you're in a pinch, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, and then I think it's Brakes Plus. Because
Brakes Plus, that's Denny's, yes, thank you.
Yeah, because Mavis owns Brakes Plus, I believe. Mavis, yeah. So it's one of those. It's his Mavis connection. We normally see him in the Mavis car, or obviously the FedEx car, but the Brakes Plus thing. So yeah, those are the two to look out for when you're watching the Phoenix race.
I didn't think you guys mentioned the Bowman one and didn't really like it. I didn't think it was that bad. I think it was kind of
purple one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got like cartoons on it. It's
like a dog adoption thing.
I didn't really see it, to be honest, so I can't really.
Is it a dog adoption thing? I know this is the Shriners Children's one, so I don't know if it's one of those ones. I don't like to, shit on it when it winds up that it was, designed by, like Chase Elliott does it, where I believe people from the Chase Elliott Foundation, like a young girl had designed his car one time, so it was kind of cartoonish and whatnot. But Bowman's is going to be...
it's a dog adoption. Best friends, some sort of dog adoption.
Okay. I've had enough with dog adoptions with this whole Miss Peaches thing. Just kidding.
Yeah.
Shout out to that angel, the official dog of Rubbin is Racing. All right, so that's it. That's what we're tuning into this weekend. Going back to Phoenix. So the only thing that we have to left to do is to chat about some picks. So we'll do some picking the tires, and it's brought to you by our good friends at DraftKings. Get in on the racing action with DraftKings Sportsbook, one of America's top-rated sportsbook apps. New customers who deposit $5 or more can get a no-sweat bet up to $1,000 back in a bonus bet. What's a no-sweat bet? It's simple. Miss your first shot, you get another opportunity to score with a bonus bet back, right? So we always mention the lines that we get from DraftKings, and then Quiggs actually updates them when he puts out his graphic at the end of the week to let you guys know what exactly we're betting on. But again, we're not providing any kind of betting advice for you guys. If you follow us, you're an idiot, right? We're just doing this shit to have some fun.
We'll lose
and
your
to
money
play
long
against each
term.
other. Yeah, exactly. You can also follow what all of your favorite Barstool idiots / personalities are betting on by joining the Barstool betting group in the social section of the DraftKings Sportsbook app. So what do? You download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use the code Rubbin, RUBBIN. New customers can get a no-sweat bet up to $1,000 if your first bet loses. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook with the code Rubbin. The crown is yours. Go check it out on DraftKings. All right, guys, we have one win a week this season, as I've told you. 2 outright just winners with Spider Larson this week. He gets the sticker. Quiggs had Byron.
Give me my sticker.
Daytona 500. Give me my sticker, bitch. I think Spider and I have both done betting Brad K. I had alluded to something at the beginning of the podcast. You guys mind if I go first?
Please.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. So I think I'm going to stay away from it because I think Spider's on it, so I'm going to stay away from one. But I am going to stay with Byron. He was plus 750 today. Revenge of the plastic bag. I like seeing Byron cursing in his car. I can imagine him going to the Piggly Wiggly and saying, fuck you with the plastic bags and bringing my own paper ones or something. I like Byron to run a clean race, so I'm going to take him outright at plus 750. I was trying to figure out a top 5. I couldn't choose between Chastain and Briscoe. I'm going to take them both. I'm going to do 2 top 5s. Chastain and Briscoe, they're both around plus 250 for top 5s. And then I'm going to take Alex Bowman in a top 10 for plus 150. That's all I'm going to have on the ticket, so there's going to be 4 of them. Byron to win, Chastain, Briscoe top 5, and a Bowman top 10. Who wants to go?
I'll go next. I kind of already alluded to my picks. I'm going to stick with Chevy. Chevy's been dominant this year. I'm going to rock with them until they lose, and they're still plus money, which I think is very intriguing. If you go to team props under NASCAR on DraftKings, Chevy is plus 130. Surprisingly, the second favorite is Toyota plus 180. They have the fewest amount of cars in the field, which tells me that the sports books really hate Ford, who is plus 250. If I'm going to take a Ford in this race, the only guy that I would even consider is Ryan Blaney. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to stick with Chevy plus 130 as my main and only play. I gave you one play last week. We hit. Let's go 2 weeks in a row with one play, one winner. That being said, if I were to go outside of that, and if I do come into some bonus bets on the DraftKings app, which consistently I do throughout the course of the week, I will be placing an outright wager on one driver, and that driver is Ross Chastain, plus 850. Trackhouse struggled last season. They were slow to get going. They were slow to start. And what happened? Ross Chastain won the final race of the season, and they kind of came alive later in the season. What's happened this season? They've started strong. Daniel Suarez already punched his ticket. He's notched his belt. He's got a win under his belt. I think Ross Chastain, who's the better driver of the two, will join him this weekend. And this is a great track for him to do it. He's done it in the past, and this is another good opportunity. So if I'm going to take an outright, it's going to be a bonus bet on Chastain, but I'm sticking with Chevy plus 130 to win it, and I think that's good value. Lock that in before qualifying. I think it'll be a Chevy driver that wins here this weekend.
And I like what we saw to Ross last week, right? His first top 20 is his first top 5 of 2024. He had a lot of stuff go wrong, like I said, the speeding penalty and whatnot. So yeah,
even despite that, large, that might have been his first top 25 or whatever you said, but
his first top 5 of 2024. Yeah.
Yeah, excuse me, I just put all those numbers together. Even like in Daytona, he looked good. He led laps late in the race. Granted, he got wrecked out, but I mean, that's kind of the name of the game. It's about getting to the front, and he's done that consistently. I like Ross here. I like the Chevys, but if I had to single a Chevy out, it's Ross. I still would like to see him be a little bit higher than plus 850, but that to me kind of tells me that they also agree that he's got a real good shot at winning this thing. So I like Ross and I like Chevy.
Yeah,
I was surprised to find him at plus 250 top 5.
Yeah.
Honestly, so I'm happy hanging out with that. Go ahead.
I kind of wish Ross was on my card. I must have just overlooked him, but I'm not going to add him. I'll let Spider have that. I got 2 winners. I'm kind of doing what I did last week where Kyle Larson's the favorite and I'm just pretending like he's not there. Mm-hmm. And I'm going with Ryan Blaney and Denny Hamlin, both to win. They've had a ton of success on this track. They're pretty consistently always finish top 10, a lot of top 5s. I think either of them could get it done. And then top 5, I just thought the odds were a little bit long for this. Joey Logano plus 175. I think he could easily. I don't think he's going to win this race by any means, but he could be 4th or 5th best driver out there. So those are my picks.
You think he's? I mean, where does Joey Logano rank right now for the season in Penske? He's their worst driver statistically, I believe. Right? P9 was his first top 25 of 2024. I'll just say this season. Last week. I mean, and I know he's
better than Cindric.
Wrecked the first 2. And Cindric was having a very good season. Didn't have it at. I just think it's interesting. Like last year, it would have been going into last year. Joe Logano was the king of Penske because he was, won the Cup Series.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, he's behind Ryan Blaney, and then Austin Cindric was kind of eating his lunch a little bit.
But
yeah,
Logano will be better than Cindric in Phoenix.
Yeah. By the end of the year, Logano will not be the worst Penske driver.
Right. All right. One of the other things, I have 2 things to mention. One of them is our good friend. So for people who don't follow a lot of other Barstool things, one of the nicest guys in Barstool, I'll find anybody who feels differently, is Clem. He's a Knick fan, a Jet fan. No, excuse me, Knick fan, a Giant fan, and a Met fan. and just great guy. He does My Mom's Basement with Robbie. He did Podfathers with me for a long time. Just, one of the editors too, also of the blog. He's looking to find a driver, kind of put out the feelers on social media. I know who I want him to follow. It makes 100% sense. But I wanted to ask you guys, as a new guy, we'll try to get Clem to one of the races. I think that would be wonderful to get Clem at a race. Who do you think my man Clem Quan, Justin Clemenza is his given name, who do you think he should follow and pick up as his driver?
I mean, the one that first came into my brain, it was probably going to be Quiggs' answer as well, is Ricky Stenhouse, simply for the fact that I like to think that Ricky is basically a grocery store. And
yes.
This is not a fat joke. This is nothing like that. This is nothing like that. Clem previously had a show at Barstool called Snackin' Off, where he would review junk food, and he's historically in deep in that kind of game, the snack food game, the junk food game. Even on the Dozen Trivia, in terms of their niche categories, it has always been junk food and that kind of thing. That's why I'm going with Ricky Stenhouse. Ricky Stenhouse is a grocery store. Any given week, they're displaying a different product that they are pushing. And also, that just seems like Clem's brand. I feel like he uses a lot of the products. He's probably, whether it be like the Irish Spring soap or the laundry detergent down to the Hot Pockets and the drumsticks. I'm sure Clem loves it all. So on any given week, he could probably get down with what's on Ricky Stenhouse's car. Aside from him, I'm going to give you two other drivers, and they both race for 2311. I think the Star Wars connection, I think Clem is a big Star Wars guy. Is that right?
Huge. Yeah. It's huge.
So we've seen Star Wars schemes on both the cars, as well as Clem being a New York guy. I think he would love Freddie Kraft, and they have a lot in common as well. So for that reason, I'm kind of pushing him towards the 2311 stable. But those are the three drivers that came to mind first for me, for him to root for, and they're all relatively solid drivers. So it's not like I gave him a back marker.
But they're not. You're not bandwagoning either.
Right.
Like Clem is used to pain. Like a lot of guys were like, you got to go, whatever.
I didn't give him Kyle Larson.
Yeah, and that's not him. He's a Knick fan.
Yeah, he's not.
Clem's been a long-suffering Met fan. He lives and dies with the Giants. And to your point, in the Dozen Trivia show, he's on Team ZD with another man of size like me. Me, Clem, and Eddie all wear the same sweatshirt. We can share sweatshirts, which is refreshing for me. But when Dave, who is not a big man, when they throw out the snack question, he's floored with how much Eddie and Clem know about,
they know
a
everything.
very rare thing of Skittles that was just on the shelves for like 2 months back in 1989. So I think Ricky is right in his wheelhouse. He can win the Daytona 500, or he could fucking wreck the whole field.
Yeah.
What are you saying, Quiggs? Who would be your guy?
I mean, mine was, which it's even a little outdated, but mine was the same reasoning as Spiders, but Kyle Busch, the Candyman.
Yeah.
But also he's kind of not that anymore, at least sponsor-wise. So, but yeah, I like Spiders. Other than Kyle Busch, I think those two are very good for Clem.
And I know that Blaney is kind of a geek. Like, even the clapback to Ross Chastain was a gif of the Emperor, right? So, that does fit. But again, that's a little bit more bandwagon-y for him. So I think the perfect guy would be Daytona 500 winner, Ricky Stenhouse. I only have one more announcement to make if you guys have the time. And it looks like it's almost set in stone, so it's still treated as tentative. Looks like we might be going to Martinsville, Spider. So
I'm just seeing those emails as we're recording the pod, actually. So pardon me if it looks like I'm distracted, but I'm actually reading these.
Yeah, so we have a certain amount of races that we go to every season with NASCAR, and we try to bring guests from within content, particularly people who haven't been to races before. So our next scheduled visit was going to be Talladega, which we're still going to with Brianna Chicken Fry and Grace. But before that, looks like we're going to Martinsville with none other than Frank the Tank. Frank the Tank has been on a huge health kick where Jenks has him doing 10,000 steps a day. So we're going to try to get something going where perhaps Frank walks the track at Martinsville. I'm sure they'll be inviting people to walk with him.
And we're going to have some Martinsville hot dogs.
Yeah, we're going to have the Red Dogs at Martinsville. So so that's exciting. Myself and Spider, I think it's the first weekend in April.
Yep.
Easter's
April 3rd, I think.
Yeah,
April 6th.
7th?
6th and 7th.
Okay. Yeah, so Easter is the weekend before that, and then the following weekend, Frank the Tank and Jenks down in Martinsville with Spider and myself. So that's it. I don't think there's anything else that we have to do. All I know is that if you're not following Rubbin is Racing on social media, you're doing yourself a disservice. So follow us at Rubbin is Racing. And other than that, sign up for DraftKings, get yourself some 3 Chi, and get yourself some Cabo Wabo tequila. Enjoy it all responsibly, and we'll see you next week.